When I heard that Romy and Michelle's high school reunion was getting a sequel, my first thought was, oh no. Not for the dislike of the original, quite the opposite actually. Legacy sequels are always a gamble. For every success story, there's always another one that forgets what made the original so special. Before Romy and Michelle's return nearly 30 years later, I decided to revisit the movie that turned two lovable outsiders into cult icons. Let's take a look back at the movie that made them so unforgettable. Welcome to Pass the Popcorn. Let's talk about it. Released in 1997, Romy and Michelle's high school reunion wasn't a massive box office sensation. It wasn't the biggest comedy of the year or swept award season. Yet somehow, nearly 3 decades later, people are still quoting it, dressing up as the characters for Halloween, and now we're finally getting a sequel. That's usually a sign of a cult classic. The premise is deceptively simple. Romy White and Michelle Weinberger are invited to their 10-year high school reunion and quickly realize they aren't exactly where they thought they'd be at this point in their lives. No glamorous careers, no impressive accomplishments, no success story ready to unveil in front of their former classmates. Panic sets in. Naturally, the solution is to invent one. What follows is a reunion comedy filled with misunderstandings, awkward encounters, terrible decisions, and some of the most memorable outfits ever committed to film. On paper, that doesn't sound really revolutionary. Stories about adults looking back on high school had been around for years. Yet Romy and Michelle managed to stick around, while many similar films faded into the background. The secret isn't the plot, it's the characters. Most comedies build toward a romantic payoff. This one doesn't. Billy Christensen might be the guy that Romy spent years thinking about. Sandy Frink might eventually win Michelle's heart. Neither of them matter as much as the bond at the center of the film. The chemistry between Lisa Kudrow and Mira Sorvino does most of the heavy lifting. From the opening scenes, they feel like two people who've built their entire lives together. Watching movies, getting ready to go out, arguing over something ridiculous, and dancing 5 minutes later as if nothing happened. That dynamic carries the story. The real conflict isn't the reunion itself, it's the fear of looking around and feeling like everyone else has gotten further than you have. The successful people, the popular people, the ones who just seem to have everything figured out. For all the outrageous outfits, dream sequences, and ridiculous lies. That's the emotional thread that holds everything together. Part of what helped Romy and Michelle become a cult classic is how distinctive it feels. You can recognize the movie from a single frame. The bright colors, platform shoes, shiny fabrics, the Venice Beach apartment. Nothing about it blends into the background. The fashion there isn't simply to make the characters look good. It reflects who they are. Creative, optimistic, a little ridiculous, entirely themselves. Even when Romy and Michelle are trying to impress other people, they never stop being themselves. And that's the biggest reason the film continues to resonate decades later. For a film released in 1997, a surprising amount of it still feels relevant. The details may have changed, but the anxiety hasn't. Today, most of us don't have to wait 10 years to compare our lives to our former classmates. We do everything online. One scroll through social media is enough. The fear of falling behind, the FOMO, the fear of not measuring up. The fear that everyone else somehow received a guidebook for adulthood that you never got. That's what gives this movie its staying power. Not every joke has aged perfectly. Some side characters are underdeveloped. A few plot points require a generous suspension of disbelief. None of those issues are enough to undermine what works. With the sequel on its way, my biggest hope is that it remembers what made the original stand out in the first place. The friendship, the color, the sense of fun. One of the things I loved revisiting was about how confident the movie felt in its own identity. The outfits are ridiculous. The dialogue is endlessly quotable. The entire film operates on its own wavelength, and it never apologizes for being a little strange. That's the balance I'd love to see the sequel preserve. Keep the platform shoes, keep the glitter, keep the optimism, but most of all, keep the friendship. If the sequel remembers that, there's a good chance it might work too. Romy and Michelle's high school reunion remains one of the most charming cult comedies of the 90s. Funny, stylish, a little ridiculous, and all for the better. So are you excited for the sequel, or are you approaching it with cautious optimism? Let me know in the comments. As for me, I'll be showing up in my best dopamine fashion and hoping for the best. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And let me know what other movies or television shows you'd like me to cover next. Until next time, pass the popcorn.